Melissa,
Yes, Cory.
what'd the farmer say when he lost his tractor?
I don't know. What did the farmer say when he lost his tractor?
Where's my tractor?
Ah, good one. Creative insurgents. Creative insurgents.
Hey everybody, this is Cory Huff with theabundantartist.com,
And Melissa Dinwiddie with Living a Creative Life,
and this is the Creative Insurgents podcast.
where we're all about living a creative life according to your own rules.
Yay!
Yay!
So Melissa,
Yes, Cory.
what's up?
Oh, what's up is I have been wanting to get a looper forever. Do you know what a looper is?
I do.
Where I can layer my voice, I can harmonize with myself, and I discovered there's an app called Loopy that I have now installed on my iPhone for 50% off, and I've been playing with that every day, having a blast.
Well, this now means that you are required to post some tracks for us to listen to.
I am already posting them up. I have a SoundCloud account, and I've been posting them, and I'm starting to post them on my blog as well. So, yeah.
Cool. I can't wait to check it out.
What about you? What's up with you?
So I just moved to, or just getting ready to move to Montmarte, which is one of the trendy neighborhoods in Paris. We found a killer deal on Airbnb, so we're going to stay there until next March, and
Nice.
that's what we're doing. Here shortly, starting September 15th, I'm starting the Authentic Online Marketing for Artists course, which is all about helping artists understand better how to market their own art, how to talk about their art, and how to effectively do PR and selling their art online. So that starts September 15th, and you can sign up for that at onlinemarketingforartists.com.
Cool.
Rad. So maybe we should just go ahead and jump right into today's interview.
Let's do it.
Everybody, I'm here with my friend Matt LeBlanc from Canada. I've known Matt for, 3 years now, something like that. Just when I was getting the Abundant Artist off the ground and turning it into a real business, I met Matt, and he was still working at a day job, getting ready to make the transition into becoming a full-time artist. And we had some great conversations years ago about what it takes to really hustle through that side gig and make it into a full-time business. I'm really excited to talk with Matt today because in the time that I've known him, he went from having that day job to having a thriving business, a real genuine business as an artist that is growing by leaps and bounds. Matt, thank you very much for joining us from Canada.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Matt, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about what you were doing before you made that leap into becoming a full-time artist? How did you handle that career transition?
Yeah, sure, no problem. It's kind of, I'll give you guys the Reader's Digest version, I guess, because it's quite a story, and it's a story that started 8 years ago. And I've studied marketing at the university, so my background is definitely in marketing. And I've worked roughly 10 years for an agency. And the last 5 years that I was working for an advertising agency, I started the art career, I guess, as more of a hobby. But I guess after the first sale that I've actually done, I kind of got excited about the fact that people were interested in my art and that it could go somewhere. So right from the get-go, I kind of always had in my mind that I wanted to pursue this. Did I know back then that it was going to become so big and so huge like it is now? Absolutely not. I had envisioned the first year that it was just going to be kind of like a side job, just extra cash. But after 5 years and after selling artworks all over the world and gathering a fan base of over 25,000 people, I kind of said, you know what, I can do this full time. So the transition, it does sound easy, but it was extremely, extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I kind of consider myself a established artist, I always get people or other artists that emails me like every week, and they always ask for tips and strategy, and very often I send them over to you, and I always tell them, like, time is probably the biggest key to success. And what I mean by time is actually investing the time in your business. And I always say that I'm probably 50% an entrepreneur and 50% an artist. And when I do the entrepreneur role, I spend a lot of time working on my business. And what I mean by that is I always look at what can bring me to the next level. What's my next strategy? What's my next move? So that's all the entrepreneur or the marketing person that's coming out. And the other 50% of the time, then I create, right? I'm the artist. So every time I get an artist who approach me, I always recommend to spend the time. And, you got to learn to market yourself for sure. And that 5 years that I spent working for the advertising agency, every night, every weekend was spent on my business. And, I don't regret anything, but, working 80 hours a week, it was tough. It was really tough. I got a young family as well, 2 young kids, and it was really tough. But when it became to a point where I said, okay, I'm going to do this full time, it was an easy transition for me because the art salary was already there, the fans were there, the clients were there. So it was fairly easy to walk in my boss's office and, shake his hand and say, you know what, I'm leaving this job and I'm going to pursue a full-time art career.
How did you feel when you walked in and told your boss you were leaving?
It was a pretty great feeling. And, the next day I came in my studio and it was almost like I was working full-time like this whole time, you know what I mean? Like it's... Mm-hmm. My boss was not surprised because they could see that I was getting very popular locally and outside my area, and they would see me work every night and weekends. And so, my boss was really good about it. He shook my hand right away. He said, good for you. And, we chat from time to time, so there was no bad feeling on his part, right? But it was quite a feeling because when I first started in the agency, my main goal was to become a VP in the company, one of the vice president. And one day I've actually got that position, and it was kind of like a bad feeling. Like when my boss, the same guy, brought me in his office and he said, "Congratulations, you've got promoted." I think my reaction was like, "Okay. Thank you." It wasn't like I wasn't really happy because my passion had shifted to art, and even though I had a Bachelor of Marketing and I spent 10 years working for that agency, my goal kind of changed over the years, and I kind of looked inside myself and I figured that I was really creative and that creativity needed to get out. So
something that I wonder about. I get that question of, how do you build an art business on the side while you're working a demanding full-time job? I get that question a lot. And, you said that you worked 80 hours a week, and you said that you divided the time that you worked on your art business between about 50-50 between the business side and the creation side. How did your family react to the amount of time that you were spending, and how did you negotiate those experiences with your family?
It wasn't easy for sure. For me, I think it was more like I'm a little bit lucky in a way that my wife works shift. So every time she was working, she's a nurse, right? So every time she was working night shift, I was working on my business. And I did have a lot of sleepless nights. But that's just me. I always say that I'm not the person who's got the most talent, but I'm one of the person who's going to work the hardest. Like, I consider myself a workaholic, and when I set my mind on something, when I said, okay, I want to learn Twitter, I want to learn like Pinterest, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to make sure I know it before I use it. It drives me nuts to see an artist join all these social media, join all these websites like Etsy and eBay and all those websites, and then just kind of leave their profile there and not do anything. And that, to me, like it's a waste of time. And if you're gonna pick something, make sure you research it and make sure you do it well, right?
So you're saying that instead of joining every social media site under the sun, you pick one and you do really well on that one before you move to the next one. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I did when I first started, and now I kind of use the ones that I love the most. But I'll give you an example. About 5 or 6 years ago, I was on this site called Boundless Gallery, and it was a site like Etsy, but not as big. And I think it was out of New York, and we were a bunch of artists on that site, and I was on other site, and I had other revenue stream, and we can talk about that afterwards. But a lot of my artist friends on that website were relying solely on that website. One morning, we all woke up, we got an email from the owner saying that they were closing shop, and if you had made any sales, they were gone. You weren't going to get any money. You should have seen the drama on like blog posts, and people were saying like, this is my business, what am I going to do? And I was sitting there, and I was kind of thinking like, okay, Boundless Gallery is probably 5% of my sales. I'm good. I'll just put that effort into something else, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something I always tell artists, like, make sure you have different revenue stream. When I look at my business right now, I got just regular sales from inventory, I got online sale, I got social media sale, I got sales from prints or reproduction, I got sales from my shows, I got sales from my tour, I got sales, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff going on, so if one fails, then I got other stuff. I'm not sure how's the market right now in the US, but I know there was a big recession. We felt it too in Canada. And my business at the end of the day, and for most artists, we kind of follow the house market trend, right? Because most of my clients, they either just bought a house, they're selling a house, they just renovated, they just painted their house. So I'm looking at my sales for the past few years. Sales have been going down, but I've been doing more work and more promotion, more stuff. But I'm convinced that it's related to the market. Like I deal a lot with realtors in my area, and they're all saying like, yeah, we're not selling as much house as we were a few years ago. So that to me has, it's a concern, right? So what I've done is I'm putting more effort into my shows, and for me as an artist, that's just my situation. I'm kind of seeing that as the next big thing for me. So I know that my regular sales are going down because the market and the economy is not too good right now, but people will still go out, people will still attend shows. So I'm kind of getting that revenue from the other perspective, I guess.
Okay, let's back up just a little bit. This is all really, really good stuff because definitely having different revenue streams is important. One of the things that I see happening to a lot of artists is they want to have multiple revenue streams. So they have, they try to start doing print sales, and they want to sell originals, and they're selling on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and wherever else. How do you get really good? Like, how do you build up sales from one channel, and then how do you know when it's time to start opening up a new channel?
That's a tough one, Cory. Like I guess for me, it's always been like a trial and error, and like, a friend of mine told me the other day, like every time you have a project in front of you, there's always 3 things you should look at, and I thought it was very smart. The first thing is the project's going to be fun? Second thing is it going to bring me revenue? And the third thing is it going to bring me somewhere else? Or is it going to take me further? And every time he's being approached by someone or he's looking at a project, he makes sure that there's 2 out of 3 in that equation. And I thought that was pretty smart. And when I look back at what I've done, I kind of do the same thing. Like when someone approached me to do a project, like, is it going to be fun? Am I going to make money? No, there's no money. Okay, is it going to be fun? is it going to take me somewhere else? And I'm kind of looking back, and I'm looking at the stuff I did. Some stuff I did, not some, a lot of stuff I did for nothing because I got a big heart. I raised a lot of money, and I like to help people, and I know you're the same way, Cory. And so I'm looking at what I've done, and most of those projects kind of elevated me to the next level. So I guess it's the same thing for the revenue stream. Like I know a few artists who's been doing really well on Etsy, and then the past couple of years they all kind of change how you get found on Etsy. Like they all changed their search engine, like behind, and now they're letting non-artists be on Etsy, which is kind of going against what Etsy stands for, right? So I know a lot of artists who have dropped them now, and they're looking for other revenue streams. So to me, I guess it's always changing, so you always have to look. Facebook used to be huge. I've built my entire business on Facebook. Now it's getting bad. Like now I post something and maybe I get 5 or 10 likes. I used to get like over 200 likes on everything that I was posting.
Matt, do you use any Facebook advertising, or do you just do the free stuff?
I've done both. I got mixed feelings about the advertising. It did work in the past, and sometimes it didn't work. So it depends for what. Like right now, I'm promoting a show, my next fusion show, and I did run a few ads. It's getting extra traffic, extra views. I think it needs to be part of your whole marketing package. So in order for me to sell out my show, I had the print campaign, I had the videos, I had a little bit of money for Facebook ads. Like it needs to be a plan, and it all needs to be together. I find most people that don't really know anything about marketing, they try one thing and they put all their eggs in that basket. And like they're gonna try AdWords from Google, and then they're gonna spend $300, and then they don't get a sale, and then they panic, and then they just they don't do it again, and then they talk bad against it, right? Yeah. But it needs to be part of everything. And I think the most problems that artists have is to really represent their brand, and that's something it's really hard to understand. But really, your brand is what you stand for. It's how people perceive you, and everything you do should reflect your brand. And at the end of the day, you should really look at, okay, this is my art, this is my product, this is kind of the brand that I want to project in the market. Now, how do I get it out there? How do I get people interested in my art? If it means putting your art in the busiest restaurant in your town, and if it brings you revenue, if it brings you somewhere else, but it doesn't bring you revenue, or it's not fun for you, then it's okay. But as long as it brings you somewhere else, and that's what I try to tell them. Like you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to go out there, and you have to be seen. Like a couple years ago, I've won an award from the business community, and it was innovation award. And I was a visual artist among a lot of business, and I won, right? And I'm not saying that to brag or anything. It's just I'm proud of it, because as a visual artist, you're not normally known to be a marketer and to be out there. But I spent the past 5 years before that attending all the breakfasts that they're having, attending their annual banquet, networking, talking to people. And yes, you're going to meet like financial planners, and you're going to meet doctors, or you're going to meet all kinds of people, but at the end of the day, they all have homes, and they're all potential clients. So for me, that was one of my revenue stream, my local market. How can I approach my local market? And it was getting into those businesses, making the networks, making the contact. And I look back now at all those meetings and all those breakfasts and all the people that I've met. They, all the great connection that I made, they brought me somewhere else for other projects, and ended up at sales. So when you think about branding, that's what I mean, is you need to kind of sell yourself, but you can't be out there and saying, do you want to buy art? Do you want art? Do you want? I mean, that's not how it works. You just need to connect with people, talk to people, and then obviously they're going to ask you, what do you do? Well, I'm Matt LeBlanc, I'm a local artist. Oh, I heard from blah, blah, blah. And then we have a conversation and we kind of leave it there. It's not about the instant sale. It's about putting your branding out there. Yep. I'll give you another example. Like there was a big show here locally, and they were bringing down Donald Trump and Sir Richard Branson, and all those big names were coming down to Moncton here. And when I heard that, I said, okay, wow, what a great project. So I've approached them and proposed to create a special collection for all the speakers. So that, brought me a lot of different projects, and like all those people now have my work, and I got a letter from Donald Trump afterwards, and it's just it's going out there and being an entrepreneur. And when you get back to your studio, then you create, but you have to spend the time to promote your brand.
Nice.
So true. I'm so glad that you're bringing this up, Matt, because most artists, as you say, just have no concept about that, and you're a great example of really thinking creatively, using your creativity in your marketing as well as in your painting.
Yeah. So Matt,
if I could just, sorry, Cory, if I could just add a point, I had this conversation many times with different artists, and some of them are going to say, well, you know what, I'm not an entrepreneur, and I don't want to get out there, I don't want to knock on doors, I don't want to meet people. And I tell them that's totally okay. It's almost like when you first start as an artist, you're walking on this path and you come to a fork, and you have to decide, are you an entrepreneur? Do you like to do your own things? Or are you a little bit more shy and you like to be in a studio? Those are the two most important questions for an artist who's starting out. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a go-getter, go the self-representation route. You're going to be able to do it yourself, do all kinds of projects. You'll have more money, in my opinion anyway. If you're a little bit shy, you don't want to get out there, you don't want to knock on doors, then go the gallery route or get a like an agent for your art. So all you do is you paint all day, and at the end of the week you ship your stuff out, and then you cash in the checks. They will take a big cut. That's why I'm saying this route, you make more money, because all the time that you work for yourself. And I've tried a few galleries over the years, but now it's been probably 6 years that I refuse to be in galleries. It's nothing against them. It's just I like to do my own stuff too much. And the galleries that I've been with, they wanted to own me. They wanted to tell me how to market myself. They wanted to tell me how to brand myself. And I just couldn't let them, right? I'm too much of an entrepreneur, and I had too much of a big vision to let them do that. So if you're starting out, you're an artist, ask yourself, do you want to report to someone, which are kind of the galleries, or do you want to do stuff yourself? If you choose to do it yourself, then you have to figure out how to do it. That's when you hire Cory.
Well, thanks for the plug. Matt, I want to, in the time we have left, I want to talk about your show Fusion.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was the 2012 show, where you put together this trailer where you walk into a room, a white room, and you did splatter painting all over the inside of that white room. Yeah. And you set it to music, and this really dramatic music, and it was so much fun. And I think I showed it to, I think I spoke to a large group of artists. I showed the video to them. I showed the video in an online course that I taught. I think I've shown the video to maybe probably a couple thousand artists. Nice. And I think it's such a great way of marketing yourself. And it wasn't that expensive to put together, I imagine.
No.
So tell us about Fusion, what it is, how you came up with the show. Tell us that. Let's go that far.
Okay. Fusion was born. It's where do I start, right? Fusion now, it started as a way to not do the same as the other artists. And remember when I was talking about my branding, I wanted to create something that would create a buzz in the market. So this was it's my fourth Fusion this year, so this would have been probably 5 years ago. I wanted to do my first solo show as an artist. Typically what artists are going to do is they're going to rent a space, they're going to hang their art, they're going to invite people, have wine and cheese, and then people are going to feel awkward because they're going to feel obligated to buy the art, right? So that's typically what they do. That's the last thing I wanted to do. So I wanted to create this evening of art and entertainment where I would entertain you for the entire evening. I would wow you, I would play on your emotion, and then before you leave, by the way, there's art there if you want it. So the art was almost taking a back seat. So that was kind of the inspiration for year one. So I did a show with, I had 225 tickets, and I think I sold them in probably 3 or 4 weeks. And the show itself was a blend of different stuff, and it's still the same thing today, but it has evolved big time the past few years. But it's always been a mix of different entertainments. So you got live music, you got live dance performance. I do a lot of videos, like the video you mentioned earlier, that was one of them. And I remember one guy had posted a comment and he was saying like, is that art on the video? But that wasn't the point. The point was to entertain people, and the point was to create something unique to the music. And people were pretty impressed about it because the music was actually played live while that video was playing. So, Fusion was born that year, and it was pretty magical. Like, people were talking about it the next day. It was on paper, it was on radio. So I realized right there and then that I had something special. So over the years, I've introduced a lot of stuff. The videos are now, and I can send you, or I think I sent you a link. Like, the videos now are almost like Hollywood quality. Like, it just kind of, now there's a full story for the evening. So it's essentially almost like a gala reception. So everyone are sitting in tables format, and you're watching a story in video format. So you're watching like maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes video, and then there's a performance related to the video. So last year's story was all about water. It was a story of Aaliyah, who was the main character, and it was the story from the time that she has fallen on Earth and the journey that she has taken, like going through Brooks and Stream all the way to the ocean, which was the grand finale. So that was kind of the concept last year. So everything for the evening was related to water. So I had a huge waterfall on the stage, 12 feet high, and it was actually a piece of art. So the water was flowing over the piece of art. All the people were dressed in blue. I've painted over 300 yards of fabric, all in kind of like aqua blue, almost like water feel, and we hung that everywhere in the room. I've designed the entire set on the stage. So my main goal right now for Fusion is to take my creativity and put it everywhere. So my art is in the costume. All the costumes are hand-painted. I'll send you pictures of the costume this year. They're amazing. All the decoration are hand-painted. All like I said, like all the set design, the stage, everything has Matt LeBlanc art on it, which I think is fantastic. And again, the artworks are almost taking a back seat. They're in the lobby when you come in. So I entertain you for a few hours, and then when you leave, or in the cocktail reception or whatnot, like, people obviously look at the art, and there's art sales, but the show is not relying on the art sale to survive. The show is relying on ticket sale. So going back to the branding earlier, like, I spent a lot of time branding Fusion and branding my art. And I think it was put to a test when the tickets went on sale last week. I sold over 800 tickets the first day. So
Matt, I have a question about that. So it sounds like Fusion has just expanded and gotten more and more bigger and more complicated over the years. So what you were just talking about does not sound like an inexpensive production. But Cory's, the first production sounds like it was less expensive. So I'm curious about that. For if somebody listening would be interested in starting something, they're not going to start off with a 15-foot waterfall probably.
No,
So
no.
how did you get started with it? How did you find your venue? How did you decide what to charge for tickets? What did you charge for your tickets? How much did it cost you?
Well, it's been growing every year, and um, it's funny you say that because technically, like, the show could grow, but I keep like adding, right? I keep adding. So, over the years, I don't think I've made any money with the show yet, and I haven't lost money, but it's just the budget is so high now when you talk about all those videos, and it's really, really high production videos. And but that's just me, right? And this is part of my branding. And I don't spend anything on marketing locally, but this show, like just selling over 800 tickets in one day, you can see the marketing machine behind it, right? So even if I would lose money every year on the show, which I'm not, it would still be a good marketing investment because people talk about it. They send emails to their friends. They invite friends, and the reason it sells out so fast is I have these followers that keep coming to all the shows, and then they invite friends and friends and friends, so it keeps growing. So the budget, the first year was probably 10 grand. Now it's probably up to 75.
Wow.
So you can tell like how it just grown, right? Like having custom-made wardrobe, and it's not cheap, right? Makeup that takes hours and hours for one production. I was laughing this week because
as somebody who produces shows myself, I can testify that yes, this stuff's not cheap.
and we were saying this week, like we've been working on this 1-minute performance for probably 2 months now. When you put everything together, like the video, the costume, the makeup, the choreography for the dance, like everything together, like it's a lot of work, but you know what? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And my vision for Fusion since the first year was always to bring it on the road, because I kind of feel that I'm really known locally, but what if I could create this show and have it in different cities? So I actually have 3 shows this year, and I got more planned next year. I'm not stupid. I'm going to start small in those other markets, but I have one in Quebec City, and also in Montreal. So it's going to be September, October, November. So I got 3 shows in a row. And the way it's working, it's going to be last year's show. So I'm always going to do the first show in Moncton and then take it on the road. And I got planned for a few more next year. So hopefully in a couple years, I'll have probably 10 locations that I do every year, and I keep growing. So, I would love to do that because I love to create art on the canvas, but I love even more to be creative outside the canvas.
Nice. Well, Matt, I love it. I really appreciate you sharing all of this stuff. This is really good stuff. For all the artists listening, I think one of the big takeaways for me is the idea of not just doing the same thing that all the other artists are doing to promote themselves, but to really put some deep thought into, what are you doing with your Facebook page? What are you doing with your mailing list? What kind of shows can you do that aren't just art on a white wall?
Yeah.
Right. I think the fact that you've thought deeply about a lot of this stuff shows that you're not just an artist with the paint, but you're an artist with the whole experience, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think people have to understand that everything's changing, and it's changing quickly. You mentioned mail out newsletter, and I've seen over the years that is less popular now. So I'm kind of putting less effort in that, but more effort into something else. And that's something that artists needs to be on top. Like Facebook is like we've chatted about that today. Like it's not as easy as it was when it first started, but an artist needs to realize that, and they need to work on something else that's more suited for their needs. So it's a constant battle. You always have to look at what you're doing and what's working. And if I can give a big pointer, it's just be organized. Like I got a spreadsheet with all my sales, and it tells me from where they're going. And at the end of the year, I take a full day and I look back. Okay, this is what I've done over the year. I've made this amount of sales from this. I've donated this amount of pieces to these charities, and I calculate everything, and then I evaluate, like, where do I change? What do I need to change? So artists, they need to be more an entrepreneur. Like, that's what an entrepreneur would do. If you sell coffee, you would look at coffee sales, you would look at where they're coming from and how much were your raw material. Like, how many artists do actually know how much it costs to do one piece? Like,
I would say not enough of them.
Yeah. Like, I know exactly. I may be a little freak, but I know exactly how much one piece costs me. So if someone approached me and wants me to donate a piece for an auction, I know exactly how much money I'm going to lose. Yeah. And that's important, because if it's just out there and you keep giving, or you keep creating and you don't sell, and you leave stuff behind, then it accumulates, and you can easily, that's all your profit at the end of the year. Yeah. Because you can sell for $200,000, but all your costs is close to that as well, right? Because supplies are not cheap. So you have to keep an eye on your margin, and at the end of the year, you need to have a margin you're comfortable with.
You bet. Matt LeBlanc, thank you so much for joining us. That's all the time we have. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.
Creative Insurgents. Creative Insurgents.
Subscribe at creativeinsurgents.com.